There we go.
I don't know how to turn this on.
Turn one on.
Oh, it's upside down.
You do 6.
I was
That's
just
your
gonna
phone.
check the time. Your phone is upside down. I don't know how that works.
Did you do this?
Oh,
Magic, I know, huh?
clever.
Yeah.
The Trudy moment.
Here you go. I made 2 copies.
Oh. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. So would you like to get started, Lady Mail? Kick us off.
Okay, how's the sound? Can you guys hear us? Can you hear us if we don't like lean into the mic? Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's
I mean, there's only
no-
4.
There's so much talking, guys. I'm sorry.
I know,
I have
yeah.
to yell over you.
At least you outnumber us now. That's nice.
Yes.
Okay, we are at Lost Tribes Gaming. We're just a normal group of normal human gaming people.
You're really giving us the what we do in Shadows intro. Thank you. Lost Tribes Gaming, regular human gamers.
We're just a group of friends that have been gaming together for a few years, and we stream on Twitch.
2018.
So that's
6 years.
Yeah.
wow.
It's been a while.
So we're just here to talk a little bit about our experience gaming and maybe give you guys some tips.
Or help you with any. The other thing too. I'm sorry to jump in there, but more so obviously because there's so few of you here. But we also try to make it interactive. Like if you have questions about your own RPGs or stories or whatnot, happy to try and help. Throw ideas out there, spitball, that sort of thing too.
So my name's Brittany.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Brittany.
I like long walks on the beach. I don't know.
State.
Oh, my
Say,
bad.
right?
I know.
I don't know. Arizona might have beach for a property one day.
I should have said long walks on the sand.
California sinks.
But no, I don't know. I never know what to say. I guess I like in my non-gaming life. I'm an illustrator and designer, and I also do some writing, and some costuming. So I will typically dress up for games. We do our gaming virtually, so it's all there on the screen. But I don't know. Is that enough?
Sure. Whatever you want to say.
I don't know what I want to say. Okay, this is Jerome. He's our storyteller. He manages all of the games that we currently play. And Rachel, tell us a little about. Oh, I guess Jerome, tell us about yourself.
So she said my name is Jerome. I have been running games now for 32 years, something like that. Long time. For those who familiar, like my first role-playing experience was Redbox D&D. So yeah, like a lot of people who got introduced to the hobby, that was the crack that you ended up choosing. It was almost the only game in town, literally. But I'm kind of the brainchild behind all this. I just kind of reached out to my friends and started putting stuff together. Some of them weren't friends, and they became friends. We got to know them, outside of the gaming situations and whatnot. I do run all of the games that we play as a storyteller, but I also manage behind the scenes. So for like if you're watching us on Twitch, I'm doing the transitions. I'm putting together the layouts. I'm
Doing the stream.
Managing the stream, finding bumper music to play royalty free, so we don't get copyright strikes and that sort of thing. So.
I'm Rachel. I have been gaming for probably 20 years or more.
Early 2000s.
Yeah, since high school at least. I graduated in 03, so. Outside of this, I investigate fraud and help people resolve identity theft. I don't really cosplay a whole lot. I occasionally, like, I have dressed up in the past, such as like Fiona from Shrek and stuff like that, but I don't do that part of it.
But you did go to college for art, so you're
I
very
did.
artsy.
Did go to college for art. However, that degree hasn't really served me all that much right now.
It's been a tough world.
I would say right now my favorite games that I'm currently playing is Vampire: The Masquerade, and Street Fighter tabletop, and Dungeons and Dragons. So,
I'm here.
yes.
Characters?
Welcome.
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 We're doing characters in here?
We are,
This is Give Your Creation Life, crafting characters' backstories
it's like
and
we
development.
are talking about characters.
So
Yes.
yeah, we're talking about that process, and then of course fielding questions if you have
Oh.
questions, comments, that sort of thing.
I suppose we should talk about what games we play.
Yeah.
and-
Oh, yes.
and
So,
have played.
right now, slightly off topic, but kind of on topic. The games we run right now, they do alternate some, but right now I am running Vampire the Masquerade, V20 edition, for those of you who might know. Marvel Superheroes, the classic one produced by Dungeons and Dragons. Ah, somebody knows it, yes. It's one of those games that has gone out of print. You can find it anywhere online, and nobody seems to care if you download it because it's just old and proprietary information, and nobody's tried to fight anybody about the rules, so it's a great system. I am also running Street Fighter, the storytelling game, which is produced by White Wolf back in the mid-90s. They are synonymous with all kinds of supernatural horrors, and then this redheaded stepchild. And I'm also doing
Star Wars
Cyberpunk
2020.
Cyberpunk 2020. So those of you who are fans of like Blade Runner 2045, of course the actual Cyberpunk anime, which was freaking amazing. And then last but not least, the new game is Star Wars, the original West End game system, the SD6.
We just started that one this week.
Yes, so.
We had our game one.
But in the past, we've also run, there's a really interesting, if you like 5e, some fans have gotten together and they've put together a fan-produced 5e Mass Effect RPG, which you can find online.
It's really beautifully done.
The site is just amazing. Whoever put that together wasted a lot of hours to make it look great. I mean,
Is it a waste if it's good?
no. I mean,
This is
honestly, sometimes I'll get RPGs just to look at. We're a little off topic. I'll get RPGs sometimes
okay.
because I love art, and I'll just look at it and be like, oh. I'm never gonna, run the game. I don't know, but that's one of those games. Like we tried playing it for a little bit, kind of like it, but it's just the way it's put together, the website, everything.
It's so intricate.
You have to look at it and just go like, chef's kiss. It looks nice.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
Where did you say you can find this?
Just look up
just search it.
just look up 5e Mass Effect through Google, and it's probably come up as like N7 or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
All right.
You'll find it.
But yeah, then we've done that. We've also done Firefly and Serenity, the RPG. System's a little weird, so the game didn't last as long as I had hoped. We've done some D20 Modern, which is the 3.5 system, which that's a lot of fun.
D&D.
Of course, D&D, yes. And then All Flesh Must Be Eaten. So for all your zombie horror loving game systems, that's a good one.
Pathfinder.
And Pathfinder, yeah, that's right. We did a little bit of Pathfinder too. So.
And we did Werewolf a little bit.
And we did Werewolf a little bit, yes. Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Dabbed in a lot.
Yeah, I've got more. It's just that's kind of like how it comes up. So, but yeah. So why don't you?
Okay, so
Start
just to start off, can we get a show of hands? Who of you are already playing or would like to play a tabletop game? And who is a DM here? Okay, just kind of so we can
Not bad,
gauge
yeah, not bad.
gauge the balance of what we'd like to talk about.
Last time we did this particular panel, one hand went up. So yeah, you guys are already numerically superior. Yes.
Okay, so we were going to start off with where do you start? Where do you start when you would like to When you have a new game and you're making a new character, or an old game, and you're making a new character, where do you like to start? Rachel, where do you like to start?
I like to start with the type of character that I'm playing, whether I'm going to be a physical character or more mentally based. A lot of my characters tend to be physical characters, especially in D&D. I
And
play
why
a
is
lot
that?
of. I like hitting things.
So it's just based on like
just like
your-
hitting things.
based on your preferred like play style.
Yeah, it's my preferred play style. I do play mental characters, such as my vampire character. She's not very physical at all. She's very much into the rituals, nature, herbalistic type of character. Magic, very magic based. But yeah, I tend to go with that first, and then after that I decide, okay, is there a personality trait I want to include in that type of character, or a mental disability like a flaw or something. So I try to find the type of character, and then do I want to make it a little more interesting with some sort of merit or flaw, personally.
I will start a character based on kind of out of the setting. I'll look at the game and think, what could I see myself doing in this game? Or what is a kind of character that I haven't tried yet? I like to kind of try and stretch myself. Invariably, my characters end up sort of shifting into the diplomatic / face type character.
That's true.
Which is always funny when I've tried to branch out. I remember one time I was playing a D&D game with my family, and I was trying to do something different, and so I made a ranger that was a very like misanthropic, likes animals, hates people kind of character. And because I was the most experienced person in the group, I ended up trying to drive the plot with a negative charisma stat. So that ended with some really
Fun moments.
interesting gameplay. Didn't really move the story along super well, but it was sure interesting. Another strategy that I might take is if like perhaps if I'm joining a group that's already in play, then I'll try and figure out if there's a gap in the kind of in the group, figure out what's missing, and then kind of gear my character towards that. Let's see, and then I'll go into research to try and figure out what that sort of character would know, what they would have experienced. Did we have a hand?
Yeah, no, it's just about the negative charisma thing.
Yeah.
So if your character has like negative charisma, but you are a charismatic person yourself in real life, how does that work? Like, you have to assume the role of like having negative charisma, or like how does that work?
Well, by negative charisma, I mean like my character was at a disadvantage basically in trying to make those diplomatic
To
plays.
successfully make those.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would roll the dice and then subtract
Have
however
penalties, yeah.
subtract whatever from the dice, and then I just ended up being unsuccessful, like vibrantly unsuccessful a lot of the time. Yeah, question.
I do, a couple of times that we've tried to do that with some of my groups, with like either one like comp stat or something. You have to have a DM that's willing to also be kind of good with, what do you call that?
Improvisation, yeah.
Because there's a lot of like intricacies with that. I'm sorry, I didn't
Yeah.
mean to.
No, that's fine.
You're a small enough group. We don't mind some interaction.
But actually to that point,
yeah,
Brittany,
so-
like that would be, like, well, take her for an example, that would be a good way for somebody to start stepping up. Like she made, like you said, vibrantly, making, I mean, if somebody comes up, like, for example, Grog from, first season Critical Role, frequently thought he was the mastermind behind the group and always talked to people like you know, he knew what was going on, and he would talk like this and very kind of ignorant sort of sounding.
Dumb as
You
a
know,
box of
I would like to rage.
Yeah.
You know, that
Dumb
sort
as
of
a
thing.
box of rocks.
Yeah, but he would go on, and so that would be a good segue, looking at that from a meta perspective, that would be a good segue for somebody who is a newer player to step forward and go like, whoa, okay, hang on a second. This wasn't what we were trying to say, and that helps kind of bring them to the fold if they're receptive. But I mean, if you have players or STs that are good at improv, that's a good way for them to kind of slide into that.
Term I heard before, STs?
What's that?
ST, storyteller.
ST, storyteller, yes.
Storyteller is the term
DM.
for DM that we use in the White Wolf games.
Yeah,
So-
ST, storyteller, GM, game master, DM, dungeon
Yeah, I'm used
master.
to everything master, you know, if something
Yeah.
happened, you know what I mean? Not,
Yeah,
Exactly.
but yeah, no, that's added to the lexicon.
Yeah, so that leads into another important point is that when you're building your characters, it's not only okay, but recommended that you give yourself flaws, character flaws, weaknesses. Not only does it make you easier to play with, and it gives your DM room to play, and also creates for some really, really great role-play scenes. There was a time in our vampire game, I mean, many times. So my character Sophie in our vampire game is a very artistic, sexy. Right now, she's the Baron of the city. So like the boss, the vampire boss of our city, and
The Dawn.
she's not the Dawn.
She's
The Dawn is
married to
someone
Dawn.
else. She has a flaw in that she has a phobia against basically homeless people, and it's very specific, and there is a backstory reason for it that nobody has actually asked her. But one night we were playing and we had a new character.
Remus.
Yeah, we had a new character, unbeknownst to any of the rest of us. This character was essentially like had sort of a detective background, and he had been undercover investigating like missing homeless people in the park, and that was how he presented himself to the group. And when he came into our group, like my character could not be in the same room with him, and it was really, really funny. Like she had to roll self-control like every 5 minutes. It was really funny, and it's one of those things that continues to be funny anytime that it comes onto screen. And so,
What about Ben and his snake issue?
oh yeah, why don't you tell us about that?
That was hilarious. It's me?
No,
Either
okay.
one. Either one.
Okay, so speaking to that point, fun with flaws would be a good, that could be the next Sheldon Cooper.
Fun with flaws.
Instead of
Actually, I'm
Fun
gonna-
with flags, fun
that
with
down.
flaws.
I'm gonna write that down actually.
Okay.
Add that to our list.
Fun with
Chapter
flaws.
in your guys' book.
I know, yeah, right. But so in this particular case, he is back to the vampire thing. So in this particular trope, his vampire is. Have you ever seen the movie Lost Boys? All right, this is a good example of, or even pictures of it. These are good examples of what are called Bruja vampires. Street types, thug, kind of rough and tumble, on the charismatic side. They got kind of that bad boy kind of look and image shine to them kind of thing. And that's our character Benjamin Baxter. And he has slowly been developing into kind of like the go-to, go hurt that, kind of like the Hammer. Like if you were to take it from a gangster perspective, the Hammer. It's like he's old reliable. He's going to be the guy you want on the front line, beating stuff up.
I kind of see him as like a noir detective sort of.
Well, he is. I mean, yeah, but I mean, in
But yeah,
reality speaking,
he's
yeah.
the like punch him guy.
Yeah, yeah.
He solves
yeah.
problems with his
He's very much a
fists.
brawler, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he can very much solve problems with his fists, and that's literally the way, like, that's how people see him. Like, if a fight is going to break out, the first person they're talking to is Ben. Well, there was another character that came into the game, and his clan is called the Setite. Now, these particular vampires, they take after Set, who is a snake, and he decided to take a phobia he didn't think it was going to come up. Phobia
Ben.
of snakes.
Ben took this phobia.
And so fighting breaks out,
who would,
right?
Who would think that a vampire would have a phobia of
Right.
snakes?
Well, yeah.
Where
Indiana
would that
Jones,
come up?
right? Indiana Jones. And so, what happens when a fight breaks out? You break out the best things that you can do, and you get ready to defend yourself. Well, for the Setite in this particular case, he happened to be. He can shift into kind of like a war form, so it has like scales and elongated tongue and nasty stuff like that. Or he can shapeshift into like an actual snake and blend in. And so he happened to be doing that and spying on some enemies to see what's going on. They knew that they were ahead somewhere, but they couldn't see him, deep down in a tunnel, kind of dark. So this particular vampire, not afraid of snakes. Why would you be? You're an immortal, as they would say in the Blade, I'm a naughty vampire god. Why in the world would you be afraid of a little garden snake? Even if it was a viper, who cares? And so the character in snake form gets kicked. So he's flying through the air, at projectile speed at this point. Ben unfortunately sees the snake come flying out of the tunnel, and to his credit, the player just screams, "Oh my God, they fly!" and he just runs as fast as he can away. This had
Didn't see him the entire fight.
This had two detrimental effects. When we stopped laughing, anyways. One. Ben ran, and Ben was completely out of the... Ben was their big guy, their big hitter, completely out of the fight. He just took himself... Like, he ran so far, so fast, so quickly, he couldn't get back in time before the fight was over. Second thing was that now everybody knew there was something about snakes that he was just not okay with. And so he had to come back and his sullen, embarrassed self, just like, hey guys, sort of, so.
Now he's in therapy, because every time he sees the Setite, he's like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. So now he's just like, just kind of creeps out by it. So, but yeah. So again, fun with flaws. You never know when they're going to pop up. It gives your storyteller, dungeon master some ammunition to kind of roll with the game, and it could be something simple like that. It could be, a faction like D&D has factions in it, or a type of race like some people pick on orcs or goblinoid tribes. Maybe you were victimized.
I always make fun of knife eaters.
There you go. Yeah, I mean,
like dwarves and halflings.
There you go. Yeah, and vice versa. Maybe they have a disdain for dwarves. They just want to chuck them by the beard. I mean. Who knows? But yeah, so.
So not only does it create memorable scenes for the group to enjoy, but also it can provide good growing opportunities for your character. So it enriches the story. I mean, I'm not saying that vampire therapy is something that you should play in your game, but it's been pretty interesting, actually. That sounds really weird. There's I'll just, by way of background, there's an NPC in our game who has made himself useful as a scientist that several of the characters have actually talked to him about various issues to try and get past them.
Right.
So it's a good way for us to role play our way out of issues with characters. So anyway, in a fun way. He is also a vampire.
He is. In character, he's passing himself off as somebody else, but by the book, in the Vampire the Masquerade game, he's actually Louis Pasteur.
Yeah. as a
who
vampire.
happen to have gotten embraced as a vampire and has hidden amongst them as you know, as somebody, and he
And-
minored in therapy.
And he,
That's pretty cool.
and he actually, in our game, he actually, I don't know if that is if it's a canon thing, but in our game, he actually developed a cure for
Yeah, that's a canon
vampirism.
thing. Yeah,
Oh, which is why he's in hiding, so that's another.
because other vampires, they don't know.
Figures best to avoid, you know?
Right, exactly.
So, anyway, yeah, growing opportunities.
So, next one.
Once you've developed your initial character, where do you go from there? How do you become better at your character? How do you get to know your character better?
So what, so considered like your place in the group that we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Like, well, for me, kind of going back to like what you're talking about, like I don't really play, I run the games.
That's why I didn't ask you about starting.
Right,
games.
but I have. And usually what I do, like most people, is like what you need sort of thing, like as the base template. But what I try to do is, depending upon what's going on in the group, if the group tends to be like super serious, I will try to be I'll try to be the non-dour person and the
Comic relief.
comic relief, bring some levity, not obviously to the point of distracting, but I will, I'll try and pull out stuff from left field that may not have been considered, just to wax poetic over for some silly reason, for what, just to expand the role play. Because sometimes just even having casual conversations, which comes up now in skit scenes and whatnot, where like there's this, like basically like my character in many cases, the dungeon master lays out the scene. The setting shows that shady person in the back of the bar, that's your contact, and and his back is to the wall, poised, and my character might come, walk in, and for some reason he finds something interesting in the waitress, and he completely doesn't look at the, lets them do like, what is she? What is her want? What's her name? And the dungeon master's like, her name is blah. Quickly go to a generator or something like that. Come up with a name, So I'll tend to do stuff like that, but I don't try to break the mojo or what the group already has going for it, because as a storyteller, I know that can be highly detrimental, just because at that point it makes it look like you're trying to be about yourself. And I don't want to do that. I just, I like trying to find different, unique ways to make something a little bit more memorable, make it a little funny, here and there. But yeah, when I play. Rachel.
I don't know how to answer that one, considering like the role. I always kind of fall into my role in my groups for some reason. Like in the vampire game, I am very much known as I have rituals, I know the magic, so people tend to come to her to ask for those types of questions or paths of enlightenment, discussions, things like that. Very spiritual in that way. Same thing with my D&D games. Like even as the hitter, sometimes I've ended up driving the story and being the face of it. So for me, I tend to fall into the roles in the group just naturally, at least in my opinion.
Well, out of character, you can develop something like that too. Like if you know the rules or what it is that your character is focused on, not the character in the sense of like what your role is, like how you're acting, what drives them, but like, are you playing a barbarian, for example? If you're really strong with the ins and outs of that class or that type or whatever it is, that will help answer a lot of questions within your other group, because you definitively know what it is you're doing. You may not know what the cleric can do or what the fighter can do or what are these other in specifics. But if you know you have a good grasp of what your role is in that sense, that can help flesh out the rest of the group, because now they know, okay, well we know they have a good understanding of what it is they're doing. We need to figure out more what we do here, and that's how you start developing better tactics or better ways to approach a situation, or what a thief can and can't do. You know, that sort of thing. That might be another way to look at it too.
Something that I've found helpful is sort of like in a new game, you're all kind of trying to get to know your character and each other's characters, and kind of trying to figure out how you vibe, how you work together. And a lot of that comes out in combat or in like negotiation type situations. So when I hate to use Sophie again, but when I was trying to get a feel for my vampire Sophie, her clan basically has like two main abilities. They're like the persuasion type avenue and the psychic sort of avenue. If any of you play vampires, she's a Toreador.
And Rice style vampires. That's literally where they're drawn from.
So the abilities that she has are basically like these two avenues, and I wanted to do the more persuasive type, but I noticed there were situations that we would get in where there was an overlap in that skill, or gaps somewhere else, and I just wasn't feeling useful. And so I felt if I could just shift to the psychic area, that would both fill a gap and also help me to feel more useful as a character. I would have ways to solve problems that people weren't using. And so I ended up taking her in that direction, and that's been sort of the emphasis that she's grown into. And it's made a big difference in me feeling useful, since she's not especially physical. She's not a especially fighter kind of character, but she can contribute in this other way that was not something that I initially wanted to do. So
I feel like that gives a character purpose too. It helps you feel, to me, it helps me feel more connected to that character when I figure out, oh wait, we kind of need this, so let me focus on that, and that helps me to really drive that character a little bit more, gives her a little bit more of a purpose.
You can see the growth.
Yeah.
You know, when that happens. Yeah.
yeah. In fact, at this point, I kind of have to dial it back and be like, okay, well, she can't solve every problem that we have. I mean, between you and we got all the problems solved.
Gosh.
That's a joke. I mean, obviously not, but like, yeah, it's things that we end up using to solve our problems.
How do you guys handle like, so let's say you have like a good group, right? But the cleric hates his job, right? How do I make it more fun for the cleric? You know, like that just, I know that's kind of
Multi-class.
like multi-class?
Multi-class.
My initial thought was make it funny.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I don't. Say what you were gonna say.
So, you said make it funny, and I've got a funny cleric story.
Oh,
no. Okay, so I will emphasize this, that the player did not find it funny initially, but we laugh about it heartily now, and he even retells the story with quite a bit of jest. Also keep in mind, I was pre-18.
Oh no.
So immaturity issues were definitely there. It was D&D. It was Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, but making it fun, obviously. One of the things that our Dungeon Master during that particular campaign, to give him credit, it wouldn't go like the whole game, but he would make little things more important, right? Back then, with Dungeons and Dragons, the big focus was dungeon crawl or wilderness crawl, but essentially the same thing. You got a module, you got a adventure, and it was how much you could beat the snot out of all the creatures and get all the XP, almost like, you know, a video game on paper. But what he would do is he would give us, you know, little things, you know, that we could build up or trade or do whatever. So it's like it became it kind of became important to have a home for your character, which again, you don't really think about a whole lot, and then what is that going to cost? What's the upkeep going to take? Not to get lost in the weeds, but it was some things to start thinking about, outside of your character. Well, so to the cleric in this particular case, he was, God love him, he was so straight-laced. The player and the character played kind of very similarly at that time frame. Great guy, but he it was very much okay, if somebody's in need, heal. If there's undead, turn. Very basic stuff. There wasn't a whole lot beyond that. Boy, did he get a character after I got done with him. So I decide. And I don't know where exactly this started. It started in some game, but all of us started pranking each other in game with our characters. It just started becoming a thing. And so my character, I was a wild elf fighter, so I had kind of golden hue complexion. I go into town, and I go to the priest. And we didn't have a whole lot of cash, but I knew we were going to be running into a situation where, a lot of fighting, obviously. So I wanted to stock up on stuff that healed. But I looked at the storyteller, and to his credit, he went with it. I said, "So, okay, I know, the Cure Light Wound scrolls cost X amount, right? What about the ones from your students that didn't quite cut the mustard?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I said, "Well, the ones that study but didn't quite pass the test." And he goes, and he starts thinking, he goes like, and I could already see his mind going. I said, "How much for those?" And he goes, "Oh, okay, well, you gave me this like super discounted price." And now I come back, I've got like handfuls of like scrolls and stuff.
So he's excited.
He literally, like, in character and out of character, he's just like, he thought we got like a sweet deal, like I did something. And he's like, "Whoa, like, thank you." Like it really started, he was no longer playing a robotic character. He started going like, "Oh, well, this is great. Like, we're going to kick some butt." Like he was getting really into it. Okay. So we get into the fight. Now keep in mind, I was still, even immature Jerome at that point, I was still a team player. I played pranks, but at the end of the day, I was still, the team. I'm still going to pitch for the home team, sort of thing. We get into this fight, and the basic gist of it is these orcs have been ambushing a merchant line, caravan line, and we finally found their hideout. And it was this cave that had been some overgrowth and whatnot. And literally the fight is starting on the outside and getting pushed on the inside. So we're getting into close quarters, nowhere really to go. And so somebody starts taking damage. I don't remember who. And wisely, you would think, okay, don't dip into your normal spell pool, pull out the scrolls, they're one shot anyways. And he's like, "Okay, well, I've got all these scrolls. Cure Light Wounds." So it cured him, right? But all of a sudden, he gets flatulent. And he doesn't know why. And so the storyteller's like, the Dungeon Master's explain it, and he's like, "Okay, that's weird." But he's just going with it. And I'm thinking he probably would have picked up on it right away. No. So the guy gets, we're fighting our way in, and then somebody else is getting hurt. And again, true, he's playing it straight. He out of character doesn't know. And he's like, "Okay, well, I pull out another one of the scrolls." Again, he didn't learn his lesson, so he didn't pay attention. So I pulls out a scroll, heals the other guy. Now hair starts growing everywhere. Like everything starts, like eyebrows starts growing, hair, eyelashes, his hair, body hair. Like the Dungeon Master's getting descriptive, like his clothing is starting to puff out. He has his chest armor. It's like starting to get a little tight. He's got just too much hair. It's coming out from, his tunic and everything. And he's just like, "What in the world is going on?" Like, I mean, in and out of character, again, he's really invested in his point. It's like, what is going on? In his mind, he's probably thinking they're doing something to him. So he's still all in. Wow. So, and we're fighting it out, and so to be a jerk, one of the other players cast web. Now, back in the day, web was just so it's obviously a spell, whoop, and Spider-Man type web, poof, pin stuff in there. Well, he didn't pay attention, and he pins the now flatulent, hairy cleric into the web. And so now he's stuck, and I'm pulling back because I don't want to get stuck in the web. And the orcs at this point, they're stuck because he's kind of in the way, right? So they're going to one way or another, they're going to have to hack their way, through this. So in this brief moment of pause, as both sides are like trying to figure out what the heck is going on, jerk player behind us says, "Oh, fireball!" Now, methane. Hair, webbing, fire, exactly. So, needless to say, we found their secret exit because, as he described it, like Looney Tunes wise, we see in the distance, like something comes out as this explosion just rips through. Now, the damage is magnified. The cleric is saved by the power of the dungeon master, but of course he was still doing right by his deity.
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah. So he wasn't going to sell him down the river that bad. But so he comes out. He's almost completely naked. His armor is just falling apart. He has no hair, so he is bald and scorched, and everything's like looking around, like you're trying to figure out what's going on. We are dying laughing at this point, at his plight. And, at that point, like, he's about ready to use another one of those damn scrolls. I'm just like, no. I threw it out, like, no. And I was like, you don't understand. They're imperfect scrolls. They came from I got them as a joke. So he starts, I just do nothing but good, and rah, 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 and he has lost it. But now, looking back years later, like, we laugh about it, and he was so involved, and to his credit, he got the player back without having to play practical jokes. So later on down that particular mission, and of course we take him to get healed. We're not going to, he still has to get his hair back. So he is the bald, hairless cleric at this point, but he's healed. We end up finding, like I said, we found the secret exit where the flame is coming out. So we go back after we get him accurately healed and potions and whatnot, and we get out there, and they have a ballista set up at this point, at this particular point, and they're launching, like, I mean, if you've seen ballista, like, these things are huge arrows, right, at us, at people, not like an army. They're trying to hit us with that thing. That's terrifying. Well, the jerk PC, who was a fighter mage, is running up alongside me, and I see them lining up the ballista. Cleric, of course, is right behind us. We kind of do one of these numbers, and he's still going like this. Boom. He ends up getting hit in the chest for so much damage, it's like the size of a small tree went through him. and at that point, he looks to the cleric, and the cleric's like, and he's like, I got away with the comedy aspect there, but he was unwilling to forgive him for the webbing and fireball. So it all worked out the same. But that, long story short, that might be a way, making it fun, get him invested somehow.
Give them something else to think about.
Give them something else to sink their teeth in. Like, maybe there's a small side quest you can kind of give them. Yeah, maybe it's kind of boring constantly around going out and healing, but maybe for a couple games, make them the main character.
Okay.
Something specific to the temple, or to their faith, or something that isn't them just going out healing and basically playing the defender of the group, which can be kind of cool, but admittedly is kind of boring. Yeah, it takes a mindset of a certain type of player to do that. But if they're having that kind of a problem, put them to the forefront of something. Maybe quasi-political, maybe some other religion has encroached and started to defile their religion or something. So now they can step up in kind of a paladin sort of way and take that lead. And That might be a way to you know, to kind of bring it in and make it a little bit more fun for them.
Or even get them to multi-class, like you were saying.
Or more,
Yeah,
multi-class.
gives them
Like,
a focus,
Like
yeah.
you were just saying about how they, like maybe he'll take more of a paladin role.
Right, exactly,
Yeah,
100%.
multi-class, and I think that I enjoy games where
Or questing for a
I
special
have,
item.
yeah, I like my character to have, I like my character's background to become a story plot too, or these little small plots to it. So that could be something for a cleric, like if you know their background, maybe there's something that's resurfaced and now it's being injected. For this instance, to give them a little bit more of a uplift, if you will.
Or you could take a page from something I tend to do, give them something they didn't expect. So they may have set down something in their backstory, and it says, you know, like XYZ. And a lot of times when players do that, that's the scope that they come at it. Like, that's kind of a complete story. But you introduce an element like, okay, well, this was the sister you didn't know you had. Or this was, you know, this was the aunt that was estranged from your character's parents or something. So it's tied in. It's you taking a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, throwing it on what they already have, but making a little something extra added on top of it. And now their story is actually more alive. It's not as static as where it was, where they're waiting for certain story beats to hit. Now you threw something different at them, and it makes them think, oh, well, there's something else out there that I can check into. That's kind of cool. I didn't expect that.
That was good.
And that's the premise of my Marvel game. I did that to all of them. Yeah, game 2, they find out they're all related to one another. That was
clones.
Yeah, no,
No,
they're not
Daddy got
clones.
around.
They all had the same father that they didn't know. They were
Yeah.
all secret. It was all
Daddy got
secret
around.
relations.
That none of us knew about it.
And so that was a fun but uncomfortable game session. Everyone's kind of looking around going like,
And now every time we
So-
add another player to that game, we're
Are
like,
you related?
yeah, exactly. It's like,
DNA test.
it's been really
they're,
awesome.
they're waiting for Maury Povich to come out and give the test result.
Dad's got a lot to answer for.
Right.
Yeah, that was going to be a point that I was going to make in working with stuff that's in your character bio to pull in for extra like meaning for you as the character and the player. But something that I think it's good to point out is, especially if you have like a longer running game with players that you've been playing with for a while, something I really appreciate about Jerome is he does, every now and then he will do like a temperature check with each of us, and we'll do like a little survey about you know, what are some things that you're really enjoying in the game right now, what are some things that you would like to see in the game, and like if there's anything, if you're not having fun with your character, please talk to your DM.
Say something. Don't just keep playing it and be miserable, because you're gonna make everybody else miserable. We
Yeah,
don't
talk
want
to
that.
your DM privately and say, I'd really like to take this in this direction, or can you help me figure out something that will help me be more engaged because I'm kind of tuning out. Please just talk to your DM. He or she wants you to have as much fun as everyone else. So
Well, since
Please do that.
since we only have about 15 minutes left at this point, why don't we just open up to you guys, and
Yeah.
with any questions or comments you guys have that we might be able to help with, or ideas that you'd like to throw out.
Stories you want to hear.
Yeah, stories you want to
Got a
hear.
few.
Yeah.
or also, if we don't, I mean, please, if you have questions, please ask. But we had an opportunity to submit some panels for Fan Fusion. So if there's something that you would like to see topic-wise.
Yeah, related to like RPGs and
Yeah,
whatnot. Yeah.
some kind of a tabletop topic, please. What would you like to see? Maybe we can submit a panel
Or a
idea about
workshop,
that.
yeah.
Or
like
a workshop.
Yeah, because they're very big about trying to make some of these panels like
Interactive.
much more interactive. You know.
Yeah, so we're all ears.
I have a friend, we've been trying to work out an algorithm for one-shots.
Mhm.
It's, right now it's under like a false title, so that way we can workshop it later, but we've been working on it for like 6 months now. Basically we took all the creatures from CR or whatever to the highest CR that we can. We put them onto originally it was a D100, then we were like, we can't do that, you know what I mean? So we separated it into, what was it, D20s or something like that. And so it's like this weird arena thing. You dial
like a generator tree.
Exactly.
Kind of
you
thing.
can plug in any character was the point of it, and you can run with it for a session. Maybe get a prize for a campaign that you're running if the DMs are communicating. You know what I mean? Or something. You know, something to hold players over while we're trying to, you know, come up with the next session. You know what I mean? Have you guys ever heard of anything like that? Or
Kind of.
Okay.
Some game systems, this is outside of obviously the realm of D&D. They do have kind of random encounter generators like that. What I've also found, although admittedly I'm not a huge proponent of AI, you can go to ChatGPT and say, give me blah, and it will randomly spit out something, you know, like you can do it based on, I find you'll get, if you're going to do something like that, because it also works out the same way if you do it outside of AI. Take for like one shots, like take like a movie you like. Obviously, not all the same story beats. Like you don't want to start quoting, you know, Big
Like,
Trouble
we're
in
not
Little
gonna
China in the
do
middle of it.
Tombstone word for word, you know what I mean?
Right. But exactly that element. Like for example, if you're a fan of the campy Cannonball Run series, the whole point of the game could be getting from point A to point B, not fighting everybody. It's how quickly can you get there and how, you know, can you avoid the pitfalls, you know, of the law enforcement trying to stop you, you know, from crossing such and such, or, you know, this baron or that lord, or, you know, that, you know, wizardry tower, or whatever, you know, whatever setting you happen to be, you can do, switch it up like that. That'd be another good way to make quick one-shots, because movies by themselves, well, not so much nowadays because everybody's trying to go for the new trilogy, but movies previously were very self-contained.
Yeah.
You know, I have found a lot of enjoyment recreating certain movies, not beat by beat, but the element thereof. Like for example, the Thing. You don't have to do it beat by beat, but there's all kinds of elements from that would just work out to make a nice horror, you know, setting and keep your players on the edge, you know, on the edge for that time being, because who's really the alien creature? You don't really know.
I remember you ran us through the most dangerous game.
Yeah, that's another one I like to do. And again, very, very similar premise that.
How we basically got it right now is that it's a, so bottom floor of the building is an infinite bar. So infinite patrons, you can squat up, do it alone. You know what I mean? There'll be NPC characters, so that way it's just a normal, you know, it's easy to just point and go.
Right.
And then the top half of it is the Wizards Bar, where it's basically the lore thing is like all level 20 wizards and everything like that, and they bet on the matches. So it gives kind of a lot. What we've tried to do is we've tried to make it so wizards can, like you get basically three wishes per thing. Not wishes, but you know what I'm trying to say. You get three mulligans. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
So like, let's say one of the concepts that we're working on right now is, okay, well, the possibility of rolling into Rask is low, but how would you do that with the characters? You know what I mean? Well, we figured out, like, okay, well, we could do Batman Arkham Asylum, the Scarecrow mission. You know what I mean? Where it's like the big bad guy in the center of the city, constantly looking for the heroes. We'll get from the hero's objective is to get from point A to point B, or find something within the city.
Right.
So like, I understand what you're trying to get at. Yeah.
There's also a number of card decks that are for storytelling purposes. I know I've kickstarted a couple of those.
Yeah. Those are
Where
really
you
good.
just have like a deck of cards and it'll have like a person, place, or thing kind of a thing, and you can just like draw a few cards and there will be story elements that you just piece together.
And that's system agnostic. It's actually specifically designed for like, just riding in general. But that's ultimately what coming up with your next plot or a one shot, or that's ultimately what it is. So you have, if I remember correctly, most of those are like color coded, a sense of like, okay, well here's your thing. Here's like kind of what may be driving it. Here's the random element, and then this is what you need to do to accomplish it, and you kind of shuffle around, and then there you go.
I've seen some that are like genre specific and some that are more generic.
Yeah. So that might be something to try. I don't know the name of them offhand.
I'm sure you could just find them with it.
But yeah.
I guess it looked like a D&D card reference or something like that.
There's one called Oracle that I have.
Oracle?
Oracle.
Okay.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, it's got several decks in it. Side quests, epic quests,
Yeah.
and
Like the whole nine though.
Yeah.
It's got a
Cool.
little bit of everything.
Oh, see, there you go.
All right, I'll look that up.
Any other questions or any other?
Just a general D&D question. What is Pathfinder?
Pathfinder, there's a little bit of a story behind that, but Pathfinder took shape back when D&D was in 3.5, and they had an open license for almost any third party. Like they went crazy, go nuts with making supplements for everything and anything. And Pathfinder was essentially a bunch of people who had written for D&D back in the day, decided to say, well, hey, we can do this. And they came up with their own world, similar to D&D, but they went genre heavy, and they gave it this big story. They came up with unique, and at the time, D&D was still very much like, okay, well, this is your basic monster, and this is kind of where you find him. Pathfinder was known for taking, certain basic creatures and giving them like a whole kind of ecology, like a reason for being. They're not just there to beat up and get some XP. They define them as more of a living, breathing thing. And for a while, Pathfinder greatly overtook D&D because D&D produced 4.0, and nobody liked it. And a lot of people stuck with Pathfinder because Pathfinder, it had great art, they had compelling stories, they had very interesting supplements, and even though there were a lot of supplements, they were supplements that people wanted. D&D has always had the problem of producing things that people don't really want, and they started doing it more so now, but and it's a lot of publishers end up having that problem. They get stuck in this mindset of I want to produce what I want to produce, and a lot of people in D&D were starting to do that. And it's not that they didn't have some success, like they produced like Ravenloft, and that was hugely successful. Came out with Dragonlance, that was very successful. But then after a while, they started coming out with supplements just for the money of it, and just to try and keep pushing it forward. And whereas Pathfinder was way more in tune with the fan base because they were using the forums to watch it, and they were looking specifically, okay, what else do my people, my fans want? And so they were driving more of their sales towards that. So Pathfinder is ultimately, it's kind of a, well, it was in essence 3.75 of D&D, but now they've upgraded it again, so it's kind of like maybe a 2.0-ish of 5e. Good way to kind of put it. If you're familiar with D&D, you're still going to be kind of familiar with Pathfinder. There's a lot of similar gameplay to it. You're going to recognize the same stats. They just work a little differently. So.
Isn't like one of the major differences like you have to roll for your armor to actually put it? Or something like that?
No.
You guys would know more than I would.
No. Pathfinder, the new Pathfinder system. Well, the original Pathfinder was just D&D, so it worked the same way. You had to hit a target number. Now, it's like there's like the proficiencies in D&D. Proficiencies like add like almost everything here. So the roles have like even beginning level characters, it's like way easier to get up into like the 20s and whatnot with certain attack powers and your armor. So it's a little more number. It's not crunchy, but it's more number heavy. So like it's like if you're used to D&D and having like an armor class of say 18, that's kind of chump change in Pathfinder.
Okay, I understand.
Just because of the numbers, not because of, you'll find something to compare it with, but if you're looking for a straight number to number, it doesn't quite match it.
I see.
So, anything else?
I think we're about at the end anyway, so.
Any particular topics that you would like to see covered?
How about to make a balanced homebrew?
A balanced what?
Balanced homebrew,
Homebrew.
Oh, okay. Sure.
maybe like family.
Yeah, so discussion on
World building?
world building and how to make an homebrew. Specific to a game system or system agnostic?
Yeah, just a general.
Okay, yeah, sure.
I like the fun with claws topic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fun with flaws.
we're gonna make that a thing. Fun with flaws.
Right over here.
How about dealing with that one player that thinks they're the main character and the one evil spot?
We get that often. I had that question last year, and to that point, apparently everybody, all of his players were the main characters. They had that sort of mentality. That's a conversation you're going to have with that person. It's never something as cut and dry as just saying. Because it depends. Like, are you guys friends outside a game? Is it just the game? Is it? There's a lot of other factors that come into that. But a lot of times, people who are doing that main character syndrome. And for those of you who don't know, it's the people who act like the game can be won. Everything is grander than it should be. They think they're the leader of the
Revolves around
group.
them.
Like everything revolves around them. I found that you got to have adult talk, with them. Just take it, but probably not around the rest of the group. To keep people from being defensive about it. It wouldn't hurt to check with the other players privately to see how they feel about it, because you may see it and may accurately see it as main character syndrome, but they may be passive enough that they don't care.
Yeah, they could just be okay with going.
Exactly. And if that's the case, that may be a winning formula for that particular group.
Yeah, some players
Yeah.
are not comfortable taking center stage.
Right. They may just want to be that partner to that person and let them have that
Sidekick.
limelight. That's usually not the case. But if that's the case, then yeah, your group is probably healthy the way it is. If it's not, then you probably should have a talk with them and just set some expectations. The big thing is expectations. Whatever those expectations are that you're looking for in that group, you just want to make sure it's communicated.
I think if you have a problem with a particular player, you should probably talk to the DM too, honestly, because
Yeah, are you running the game or are you just
Not playing.
playing? Okay. Yeah, so then in that particular case, since you're a player, I would probably take it to the Dungeon Master first, see what they have to say, and then not to make it sound gossipy or whatnot, but you may want to passively pay attention to see how the other players react to them. If the rest of them are okay with it, again, it may be a situation where that's kind of what they're looking for, and that may not be the group for you.
you can also have fun in
Um,
character and
I was
play
just
them
gonna
all
ask you
pranks
guys-
on them if they're really getting too big for their britches.
I would not suggest taking a page from my book in that case, but that may be an option.
I mess with characters in character all the time. No
Like
problems.
backstory,
We had this one
and that
back
player
home
just
together.
completely took over that. And I was like,
Okay, yeah. That's so that is genuine.
That's rough.
I think it's like, oh, you should do this to this because this is like, no.
Right. Yeah, that's generally that. See, and that goes a little bit deeper. Like you have to focus more on. Well, I shouldn't say you have to focus, but like in a general speaking,
Trying to be more than
Sometimes the group itself revolving around the dungeon master isn't quite the healthiest because they're not mature enough to make that decision. They're not mature enough to deal with that issue. So that may come down to depending upon how bad it is, you may just want to find another group, you know, and hunt around. I mean, there are plenty of them out there.
But it's so satisfying, right?
So just, you know, so maybe network around and check. So
Humbling people.
yeah.
So I wanted to ask, you know, the whole panel too, like, when it comes to humbling your characters,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? What's your, like, go-to? Because I usually just, like, make a wizard have an FU type of spell. Like, we had this one guy that was trying to be charismatic, but he wasn't, like, the leader of the group, and it was kind of it was shit, you know what I mean, for lack of a better term.
Mhm.
And so I just had a high-level wizard cast silence on him, and I said, you know, as a home group, now that spell's going to last the entire day, in game.
Mhm.
And he was pissed because he's a sorcerer. So, but it on one hand, he was like extremely pissed off at me, but he got the message. And that could have gone either way, though. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I find that when you that's a delicate, and we got to wrap up here, but that's a delicate thing to touch on because as the storyteller, dungeon master, when you are in that role and you, even if it's rightly so, like that NPC could have done that, right? If that happens, it's going to look more like you slapping him down out of character
Picking on the player.
and picking on the player than it is something that actually should have actually happened in that world. So you have to kind of manage the expectations here. So it's almost better, if you can, depending on the players, having the players manage that expectation.
Okay.
If that
That's
is
what I'm
impossible.
saying, like, I have no problem going after character in character.
In character.
Yeah,
But
in
the,
character.
but the thing is, not all your players may be like that. They may not be comfortable enough doing it. And again, that's fine too. And if that's the case, you need to have a sit down with that person and just take them off the side and say, look.
Yeah, I sat him down afterwards and I said, this is the reason why I'm doing this.
Well, right. But I'm saying like before it gets to that point, like when you see it happening, like I ran into a situation here, and I know we really have to wrap up, but I recently ran into a situation where the player's expectation was he was expecting me to slap him down because he kept role-playing himself into a corner. And when I realized that, I'm like, okay, that's not how I run a game. I don't like that expectation because then people start expecting the NPC to come around and go poof, and, you know, manage the situation, and I don't like that.
That turns it into DM versus player.
Yeah.
It does,
Maybe my character's
and I've spent a good portion of my younger life dealing with that direct. Like, if you were ever involved in,
That's why I asked the question.
Yeah.
You know,
If-
I'm 25 years old. I don't want
yeah, if you were ever involved in D&D back then, or role playing in general, like that was a very real syndrome, and it was very contentious and just not fun. And now that we know more about like psychology, where that comes into play, yeah, it's way better to try and manage that expectation outside of the game, and then maybe try and find a better way to deal with that at the next game, as opposed to having an NPC come up and go, even if that was the absolute. I mean, there may be times.
I mean, I put it bluntly, you know what I mean?
Right.
It
But
was
there
like,
may be times that's going to happen anyways.
Players were complaining to me, and I was like, how do I handle this?
Yeah,
And
if that was the case, then what you were dealing with there was something that's already happening, and players who come to you complain, kind of what you're talking about there, in that sense. Have that conversation with in your case, have that conversation with the player. Don't try to deal with it in game first. Do something like, okay, well, we know we're at this point. How can you and I partner up to kind of fix this to get everything back on even keel? That way, he's a part of the solution, you know, and but he also realizes you're stuck. You had to do something, you know. So he's taking some ownership of the situation without having to like admit some complete guilt, even though it may have been. Right. But it puts it back in his boat to deal with. So, yeah, we are way over, but I don't think too many people.
I think we've
5 minutes.
I think we've had a good conversation.
But yes,
Thanks everybody for joining
We
us.
are Lost Tribes Gaming. You can find us on Twitch for that particular name. We stream every week. We have games every Wednesday at this point, and then bi-weekly on Fridays and Saturdays.
And Thursday.
And Thursdays.
You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube.
Yep, under the same name, Lost Tribes Gaming.
Lost Tribes Gaming.
Thank
Thanks,
you for joining
everybody.
us.
Yes, thank you.
Have a good con. But don't con anyone.
But,
I'm trying not to give any more mysteries, you know?
yeah.
What was the, okay, so it's on your Lost Tribes. right?
Lost Tribes.
Lost Tribes Gaming.
It's garbage after
Yeah,
like 2
it-
days of this shit.
Yeah, it's all one word, Lost Tribes Gaming.
Lost Tribes Gaming. Stay safe, have fun.
You too.
I apologize if it seemed like I was rushing you
Oh,
guys.
no,
Nope,
no.
no.
We went over.
We knew it was
It wasn't my
time.
intent at all. I was genuinely listening in.
Oh.
It's all good.
I'm a DM, I'm forever
Well, you
DM
didn't-
for my
you didn't
troop.
flag
Oh, okay,
us,
cool,
so-
cool.
You didn't flag us, so I figured we were probably okay.
Good.